What is good, people? Welcome back to another video on Off-Field Antics. I am joined by Rod, and today we're going to be doing a match reaction to the match which went down a little earlier on in the day between Manchester United and Aston Villa in pre-season. We thought we'd do this one now. Obviously, I'm a United fan, Rod's a Villa fan, and we could get one match reaction in before the season, basically. And it was a good kind of game to see, you know, some of the glaring sort of problems with each team and the strengths and weaknesses, just like that, I guess. But Rod, you watched the game. How did you find it?
Mate, it was nice seeing two teams with almost probably the strongest side you can at the moment out, or very, very strong side. I thought for me it was a competitive, friendly game. I forgot it was a friendly a little bit, and then I was like, oh shit, we're in Australia. The pitch is awful. It's a friendly, but mate, it was actually quite nice to watch two. I'd say overall in that game, evenly matched teams. I think United, I'm sure we're going to get onto it very shortly. United were the better side in the first half, and then second half we made some changes, and I thought we were much the better side. So, I think, mate, to be honest, it was just nice watching a competitive game of some sort, whether it means anything or not.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it straight away. I think we should start off with the team lineups because, like you said, I think it's pretty much what both teams would go with right now if the season was to start tomorrow. Obviously, United, I think you're probably looking at Martinez coming in for Lindelof, and Villa, I think that's probably your strongest squad at the moment, right?
To be honest, mate, if we were to start, say, tomorrow even, I think that's probably what he lines up with. Maybe, I think obviously we'll get onto the game now, but Bailey, Buendia may be in there, but this is the kind of side we would basically finish the end of the season with, obviously without Kamara and Carlos.
Yeah, so I haven't actually been following Villa's pre-season. I have been following United. I think I caught half of the Liverpool game, and I've caught every game since then. But for Villa in pre-season, you know, how's it gone so far?
First game, beat Warsaw 4-0, which obviously to be expected, but comfortably beat them. Second game, we played Leeds, beat them 1-0. Then we played Brisbane Raw, also beat them 1-0. And also we played Jew 2-2, so unbeaten, really.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to United's. Obviously, the results are a bit different. Obviously, United's won every game up until this point, but I think both sides have had a healthy preseason so far, and I think you can see from both levels that both teams were in very good shape. And from United, that's been one of my biggest, noticeable points since, you know, Ten Hag's come in. You know, we've looked at previous pre-seasons, and I've never seen a team in this sort of shape before. But to start the game, I think United looked the much better team, and despite some awful conditions, that pitch was an absolute state. I thought we looked decent creatively. I think the glaring sort of missing piece in the team was still a number 6 who could come and collect the ball and, you know, sort of help us spray it outwards, because I felt like Fred was kind of going missing in the midfield, as was Donny, to be fair, and we weren't really able to transition from defence to, you know, attack as smoothly as I'd like. But I felt when we were getting the ball forward, you're seeing a difference in this United side to previous years where we were playing the ball very quick. We weren't looking at taking on multiple players with the ball at once, and it was a lot of quick passes, and I felt that's what really opened Villa up to the goals which we scored in the end.
I think obviously we played quite a high formation, so if you can put the balls in behind the fullbacks, you're in. I thought Sancho, Rashford did that amazingly. I thought they were always in behind. Sancho had cash on toast all first half, in my opinion. Thought he was fantastic. And yeah, you were just spraying it. It was just quick passes. There was no taking players on, trying to beat players. It was give, go, see, put in behind. And like I said, Rashford, Sancho, I thought they were very good.
Yeah.
We were just too narrow first half. We were built up in the middle of the pitch, and in the middle of the pitch, you just dealt with it fantastically. Fred didn't really need to do much. And obviously, second half, brought on some changes, went wider, and I thought the game completely changed.
I completely agree. I think for Villa, they definitely looked too narrow in the first half, and, you know, I felt that's where United were getting a lot of, you know, good work. I felt like we kind of neglected the right-hand side. A lot of the play went down the left with Rashford and Luke Shaw. And for me, that was what was making the game so easy for United in the first half. A lot of the times, the fullbacks were always open for a pass to receive it. We were really never in too much trouble with the pressing game of Villa, and, like, on the off defensive end of the pitch, Shaw was getting a lot of chances to either go on the overlap or cut inside to over Rashford. And I felt that's where a majority of our chances were coming from. On the United side, I felt pretty happy with the first half. I didn't think we played amazing. I definitely felt like the conditions hindered the performance of both teams in the first half. But the second half was polar opposite, Rod. And I think in the first half, one of your main problems was that narrowness. And, Danny Ings, for me, didn't really look at it. I thought Watkins, despite my sort of, I guess you could say, agenda and the fact that I don't rate him as highly, I thought he put in a decent shift. His hold-up play was decent. And I felt it changed in the second half straight away. I think, bringing on Bailey just offered you so much more, rather than Ings. You were so much more, I guess you could say, athletic in one sense of the word. Your pressing game had, kind of stepped up. And I felt United really didn't handle it very well.
And for me, this is what it's all about. This is why I'm a big fan of these. Well, I wasn't to start with. Now we've improved. I'm a big fan of these 5 subs coming in because obviously we've changed it. And it's just the game's completely changed. Obviously, Bailey's gone out wide. I think he's ruined his man multiple times. We could have probably equalised earlier. Yeah. But Maguire came with a late block, very good block. And Ramsey could ball carry down the other side. There was just far more. There's just much more space. I was impressed, to be honest, by Luke Shaw and Delo, especially in the first half. I thought they were very good. Yeah. I think Delo's going to have nailed that right back spot now.
Yeah, that's his for now. Yeah,
but I'm interested to see how we line up, and it's nice we saw we were struggling. He made those changes, changed formation, and it just worked. And the pitch, just like, especially second half, after 45 minutes of gameplay, and then second half, you see it was even worse, and it's like the game nearly got called off, and the pitch was dreadful, and that's why I imagine they brought all the youngsters on, because the later the game goes on in the heat, more susceptible to injuries.
Yeah, 100%. But like you were saying, with the substitutions and now being 5 in the Premier League as well, I think that is actually really interesting. We've been speaking about it previously and how we think it's going to change it. And I think in this game there was, a chance to see how it can change games. I think in the past, it's brave to make, double substitution at halftime. You normally see one at most, and that's, rare. Sometimes you don't really see changes till like the 60th minute. But I think what you saw with Villa was they was able to make 3 substitutions at half time. They still got 2 spare in a Premier League game, and they was able to change the game completely, turn it on its head. And for me, I felt Villa, that second half, you really exposed some of the United weaknesses. I think, our midfield battle, I guess you could say, throughout the game, it was quite an interesting one. I felt like we dominated it in the first half. I think that's probably down to your attacking players not being able to press with the sort of same comfort as they did in the second. But for me, the glaring sort of weaknesses in this team, and Fred is a player who I actually do like. I think he can do a job for you. I don't think he should be starting at 6 for a team as prestigious as Manchester United. I think we need to get someone new in there. I know there's talks of Frankie de Jong, but it's kind of dragging on now, and I'd rather us just get someone through the door who we can kind of rely on. And for Villa, I felt Bailey came on, and I mean, we was looking forward to him last season. Coming in, it was very exciting for Villa. Obviously a great talent, and it didn't really work out for him. I think injuries really derailed his season. I think the one game which stood out was Chelsea, I think. I can't remember, though. I think he scored like a couple of goals.
Everton.
Yeah, and he came off injured in that game. But I think what was nice to see in this game, him coming on, he looks in really good nick. He's an exciting player anyway because of his ability to take on players. You talked about what he did to Shaw. Shaw's performance fell off a cliff in the second half. He was nowhere near the player he was in the first, and it kind of does make you question mark him. I don't think it's necessarily all down to him, but I didn't like the way he kind of backed off Bailey for the Matty Cash long shot in the first half, and I think he gave Bailey way too much space in the second for the goal. Makes me think about Malacia, who I have seen in other preseason games, who's been really impressive along with Dalot. They've really been able to play this sort of system of this inverted fullback very well. But for you, you must be able to moon with Bailey's performance. Hopefully he can, have a really good season this year, stay fit, because I think if he does, he's going to be a nightmare. I'm not too sure if he's going to be one of those fantasy assets you're necessarily going to bring in, but I think him as a player, as just a player, his impact in the game, he does change it.
So yeah, a couple things. Obviously, as a fantasy asset, he's not completely nailed, so you're not really going to want him. But at 6 million, maybe later on in the season, if he does bits, then. But another player I want to pinpoint, I thought Diego Carlos. I thought he was brilliant again. He's been brilliant. He was very good in the last game. I thought today he was good. I think he exposed Mings, which I'm not surprised. I think Mings was a bit poor again. I think Carlos he looks more certain on the ball. But Bailey, he came on, all the pace, was very, very good. And this is what I like. We had Brendier on the bench. We had Bailey on the bench. Douglas Luiz on the bench. Sanson on the bench. We brought players on. They changed the game, and it's exciting. But obviously, as a player, you want to always be playing. So it's kind of down to these players now if they're happy to maybe see some time off the bench, or it's all on the manager now, because 5 subs, you want to manage everyone correctly. But if you see a game plan's not working, like Gerrard did today, in my opinion, changed it, and it worked very well. And he said in his post-match conference that if he was to pick the team tomorrow, Bailey would be in it. So hopefully Bailey's done enough, because he was a bit of a fringe player. I wasn't too sure, because obviously Dean Smith bought him, if Gerrard wanted him in there. But I thought Boubacar Kamara, I thought he was good again.
Yeah.
Sat front of the defence, just did what he needed to do, and it was nice to have a 6 in there that knows what he's doing, he's comfortable. And mate, we've got 2 weeks of the season. We've got one more game left against Rennes next week. But mate, I can't wait for the season.
Yeah, I bet you can. I mean, we can touch on the new signings, in particular. For me, Diego Carlos was one where, he has got the name, but for me, I have seen clips of him and he's kind of clumsy at times and stuff like that. So coming in, I wasn't the most impressed. I know a lot of people were. He did impress me in that game. I do think he's a little bit rash still, but I think you kind of need that sort of assertiveness and, that sort of dominance and leadership shown by one of your centre halves. And for me, I think if you can get Konza back into the team alongside him, it could be a really, interesting partnership. I think, like you said, I do think Mings does hinder you a little bit. And, the other signings, I thought Benjamin Kamara, he looked so, I guess, at home in that team. For me, he's going to be a big presence for you this season. I think, getting him on a free, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't make on a free. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
sought after by a load of top clubs.
Yeah, man, and for me, I felt like he's going to give you that sort of format to push on from. I think your midfield now is super exciting. Whether it's going to be McGinn and Ramsey alongside him, maybe you'll see if you're looking to get a win in a game, Coutinho may drop a bit deeper into the midfield. I think super exciting. Your attack, I think you do have a bit of a hole up front. I do think you need a striker, but the Coutinho business was brilliant once again. And for you, you must be buzzing looking to get forward into the season, because there's a lot of positives in the team. I think there are some weaknesses, especially in terms of maybe not starting Danny Ings. And for me, I think if you were to start the season with the team which basically started the second half, I think Villa might go on a good run and finish quite high up in the table this year.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be all about rotation. I think we've got 2 decent players now in each position, which we haven't had in a long time. So we signed Augustinsson from Sevilla, I think, for left back to back up Luca Dean. I think we've got 2 good players in each position, and it's all about pushing each other for that starting spot, because everyone wants to play. And second half, I was very happy with how it went, and I was happy that we weren't stubborn and kept it the way it was. And Gerrard knew it wasn't working, so we had to take off. Obviously, you don't want to be taking off Coutinho, but if we're too narrow, which I thought Coutinho, he did well first half in my opinion. But if we need to go wider, we can bring on the likes of Bailey. We can spread it, and it's good. And obviously for United, I've been a bit out of the loop. Just come back yesterday. Malacia, obviously, he's going to be backing up Shaw, fighting for that spot. Which I think if Shaw maybe has an off game or a couple off games, he's going to be there.
I wouldn't be surprised if Malacia starts. I know a lot of people expect Shaw. Shaw was actually missing in the last game against Crystal Palace, and Malacia played the whole game. He was brilliant. Yeah, sorry, Rod.
So, and obviously,
Martinez.
I kind of know that Ronaldo wants to leave. Is that the main reason he wasn't in the squad today? Or I
Well,
don't
he's
know.
been missing for a while. I think it was family issues, but for me, I'm not too bothered about that. I think if he wants to go, we should let him go. I think the problem is no one really wants to pay a fee for him, and his wages are high. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think if he does go, and even if he doesn't, we could probably do with a number 9 in some sort of aspect, because you can't rely on Martial to play every game of the season when we're in, the Europa League as well as the Premier League and all the other domestic cups. But like you said, for United, I am interested in the Malacia sort of situation. I think Shaw had a very good first half, but he can be a bit suspect at times. And for me, Malacia, when he has started, has looked brilliant for me. For me, I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest. We haven't really been able to bed in too many signings into this United team. The likes of Eriksen and Martinez are yet to kind of join the squad, which is
I forgot about Ericsson. Flipping it, you got Ericsson as well.
yeah, but like I said, we are still lacking, desperately at CDM, in my opinion. Yes, I think Fred and McTominay, they can do a job against a certain level, but when you need someone to come and pick up that ball and drive a team forward, and I think at times to kind of hold the sort of position and do what CDM's meant to do, they kind of lack that for me, and we need to bring someone in that position. I don't even think Frankie de Jong is necessarily the answer. I think he'd be a good signing for United, and of course if he came, I'd support him, and I think he'd be a great player for the club, but I think we need maybe one or two in that situation. We definitely need to let players go. For me, on the bench of United, we did get to see a couple players come on, a couple of young lads. I know Zidane Iqbal has impressed a lot in pre-season. Hannibal Medjugorje came on, as well as Tahith Chong. But for me, it was nice to see James Garner come on. I think he's a player who could have a role in the United team, not necessarily as a starter right now, but for me, someone who has shown what sort of quality he had last season with Nottingham Forest. I think it's kind of been disappointing for him coming onto the tour that he's been injured and he hasn't been able to have that sort of role that I think he would have been able to if he had started the pre-season tour fit under Ten Hag. But it is what it is. I'm kind of, like I said before, disappointed we haven't been able to bed in the signings, and I think United's lack of ambition to get deals over the line done like sort of early and get him on this tour has probably been a hindrance to the manager, and I think it's going to affect us at the start of the season. But overall, I think you can see the differences in this style of play from United, completely different to last season. I think we did go a little bit backwards in the second half with the press of Villa and how it affected us. But I was kind of really disappointed. This game kind of ended after 66 minutes with all the reserves coming on. It was it was a good game, in all honesty. I think first half we were dominant and it was kind of easy for us at times. I definitely
Martin made some two very good saves quite early on.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, like, for me, it was a game where the conditions definitely had an effect. The rain pissing down was so bad in the second half. The pitch was disgusting. There was a game on it the night before, and it's just been in quite frequent use. There was a rugby union game a week or two ago on it, and it just didn't really allow the game to play out. I think it could have for Villa and United at times, but overall it was a decent game, Rod. I think we're both excited for the start of the season. Any last words, I guess, on the game?
I just think it was quite amazing that there was 60,000 there for a pre-season. Obviously, United are a huge club, huge club, and obviously majority of the fans in there were United fans. But 60k for a pre-season, I think that's pretty impressive.
Most definitely, and I think it's been nice to see, the game's getting a decent atmosphere even in a pre-season tour. I do kind of think the move to go to Australia was a bit of a weird one. Obviously, they're kind of in their winter now, so I think the the US sort of tours suit the players better because of the weather. But it is what it is. I think all in all, our tour's been really good. On the Villa side, are you kind of happy with how the tour has gone?
Yeah, I think we've done well, mate. Obviously, we played Leeds, beat them, played Brisbane Roar, beat them, and obviously played you and drew 2-2 like we did in the league. But I'm happy. managed to bed the players in. I'm happy we got the players in earlier, so we had time for the tour to everyone get to know each other, etc. A few players were there before the tour started, just doing a bit of extra training. But mate, I'm happy. We go to France next week. Are you staying in England or?
United have 2 games next weekend, so we play on the Saturday against Atletico Madrid. I mean, I can't remember who we're playing. It's something like Celta Vigo, but it's somewhere in Europe, and I can't remember the destination on a Sunday. So we play Saturday, Sunday, but it's going to be 2 different squads. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure. But it's going to be good for, 2 sets of players to get a really good run out just before the start of the season. Obviously, United start with the Brighton game, which is, I think, a really interesting sort of test against Graham Potter. And, it's going to be an interesting game. How did Villa start the season?
Obviously, just touching it back on that game that you just said, they could be without Cucurella. It looks like more likely they will be. They're without Basuma. I'm not too sure on their activity, but that's 2 massive players, so we might not see the same Brighton we did last year. But it's not down to players at Brighton; it's down to management. Where everyone does their bit. But we go away to Bournemouth. When we went away to Bournemouth last time, that was the season we went down. We won away to Bournemouth first game of the season. Rudy Gestede header, and then I think we went down. That was actually the year me and you went to Leicester away. So God knows, mate. But yeah, Bournemouth away. I'm not too sure how they've done in the market, but it's a game I think we have to. If we start off strong, we could do something. But we've got players on paper. I'm very happy, but on grass, I guess we'll find out in 2 weeks.
100%. Thanks for joining me, Rod. I think we both enjoyed the game, and we definitely want to do some more of these post-match reactions. It might be a bit better if we do one straight after the game next time. Obviously, it's 7:30 here. I think the game finished at around 1:30, something like that. But definitely fun. We're going to be back next week with a couple of videos. We're going to be giving you our initial first drafts for FPL, which obviously me and Rod, very competitive. I definitely want to beat him this year, as he walks away with like extra money each year for free. So I'm going to have to put an end to that reign. And we're also going to be doing that transfer show where we take a look at the latest transfers. We'll be talking on Zinchenko to Arsenal, Cucurella, Jules Koundé snubbing Chelsea, and all that other good stuff. As always, if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, comment down below letting us know what you thought about the United Villa game. It'd be good to get your sort of impressions on the match, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Or as always, have a good weekend. I'm getting a bit tired now, and we'll see you next week. Peace.